Today we're being joined by Sam Allen, who's a potential AFL draft prospect come this time next week. Sam, thanks for coming on, mate.
No worries, Cooper. Good to be on.
Appreciate it. Now, Sam, how did your footy journey start back when you started at a very, very young age? When did it start for you?
Started at St Kilda City back in probably I want to say under sevens, under eights, and playing the older age group with a lot of current AFL players, and I just started up and always loved it from day one. Had a good footy background with my family on both sides, and just loved it ever since. And now we're here, so it's been good.
Sure. Then obviously at Oakley, obviously being the captain of the Charge in the Talent League, is that responsibility add any more pressure? Because some people it feels like adds no pressure. Some people it adds more pressure with the title as well. When you've had that title, Sam, for the time you've had it, is that made it any more harder or more pressure on you having that responsibility on top of the playing ability as well?
Yeah, I feel like it does add an element of pressure. I feel like for me especially, with my, I'm really competitive and I really want to win, and being, the leader of the group and one that's meant to lead from the front and be, be the example and try and lead the boys. If it's, if things aren't going our way, it can sometimes weigh down a little bit. And that's something I've really had to work on, in that I've had to be a little bit more, not as hard on myself to, try and, sometimes not focus on whatever I'm doing in the team and just focus on the controllables. For me, I think that's been a big bit. But yeah, for me, to answer your question, definitely a little bit of pressure, I feel, for sure.
When you had that responsibility of being named captain, was that something you ever thought you would ever get into? Was it something that you thought from day one that's exactly the type of player and leader I want to be? Or did that just come out of nowhere?
To answer your question, it's been a long time. I felt like I'm a person that possesses a lot of leadership qualities, and I've always really wanted to lead a group. I've been a person that I really desire that leadership role, and I love going out and setting the example and trying to be that for a team. And so I kind of always knew I had that those traits within me. But to be named captain of such a strong team with a lot of great players in it, it was truly humbling. So it was a great thing to, I was super grateful to be named captain. And question, I felt like I was always felt like I would have that, the ability to be able to. Sure.
That's good. And then obviously the unfortunate situation, having an ACL injury throughout this year. When that did happen, Sam, what was your mind going through in the moment it happened and in the moment finding out what had happened as well?
So as you'd imagine, a lot of shock, just a lot of disappointment, just never really had an injury to that extent, never really had a major injury, to be honest, and it just came quickly. Initially my mind just shifted straight to school footy, and I was so devastated to not be able to finish up school footy with all my mates, which is what I've do ever since I was a tiny little kid, play out that year 12 year. So extremely disappointed, really sad for that night. But I had a couple of mates come over, including another prospect, Jack Ison, came over, and he kind of said what I probably would have said to him if it happened to him. And he was just like, I'm going to give you 2 days to be sad about it, but I'm not copying it after that. And then I kind of just got to work. Started working really hard on my knee and my leg to get it in the best shape possible going into surgery, and that kind of sent me down the path of yes, this has happened, but I'm not going to have that sort of why me mentality. I'm going to try and do everything in my power to try and come back a better footballer, better person, and just better for it in general. That's kind of just my mentality, kind of what I've carried through up until this point, for sure.
That's good. And how has the recovery been since it's happened?
It's been really smooth so far. Naturally, there's a few ups and downs, and especially in that later end of the footy season, I was really missing it. Just not being able to go out there and do the thing you love is a hard part about it. But I've really enjoyed just getting to work on the things I've wanted to work on, and in terms of my progress, it's been really positive. I met with the surgeon the other day, and he said, I'm tracking extremely well for my
Mm.
current timing. So I've just, I'm getting really strong and getting, better at all the things to do with football. So that's kind of motivating me for when I do get that opportunity to come back at whatever level that may be, I can come
Mm.
out and showcase all the work I've been putting in and
Mm.
end up for it for sure.
For sure, that's good. In terms of the type of player you play, like for people that want to know a bit more about you, Sam, how would you best describe yourself as a footballer?
I'll describe myself as a versatile player that can really take on any role and make it my own.
Hmm.
I'm certainly a competitive player, and I've got a massive drive to win. And for me, in terms of my attributes, I think I use my athleticism, my football IQ, and my competitiveness and guts on the footy
Yep.
field a lot. And yeah, can play heaps of different roles, and feel like at the next level, it's I feel like I'm kind of that go back with the flight sort of player and that guy that will
Hmm.
do other people don't want to do. And I feel like there's a lot of things I can do that other people can't. So that's a player I think I can become. And with the work I'm going to be continuing to put in, that's hopefully what I can show.
For sure. And then obviously you mentioned there about playing a multitude of roles, and versatility is so damn important these days because if you play one position and you're not going great in form wise or just in general there, you're probably going to find yourself out of the team or out of a club even, depending on what level it is. How important is it for you to be able to play a multitude of positions and even if it's the same position, like a different style of player as well, not just a one trick pony, as some people would say.
Yeah, I think it's super important to not be one dimensional in the current kind of the modern game.
Mm.
Um, Best players, ones that can roll around and play so many different roles. You look at a guy like Zach Bailey, they throw him around all over
Mm.
the field, and he's able to make impacts everywhere where his team needs him. And I think in order to be a successful team, you've got to have those guys that are willing to do that and be
Mm.
under the opposition. It might be rolling up to a wing, the midfield for a few minutes, and being able to compete and dominate in a bunch of different roles is a super important part of the game. And naturally, as plenty of the draft boys come next week, and you'll be coming into clubs, and you're not at the
Mm.
top of the group anymore. You're not at the top of the table, and you've got to learn how to adapt to different things, and that can be challenging. And I think I've got the ability to be able to make those adjustments super well, and really show some really promising things, bunch of different positions for sure.
Very good. And then obviously the draft's in 4 to 5 days, depending on what night you want to talk about. Is it starting to get a bit more nerve wracking for you, Sam, when it closer and closer it gets, or are you a bit level headed with it?
I feel like I would see myself someone who's really level headed about it. Like naturally, there's those nerves that creep in, but my
Mm.
family and my mates are really good about it. They're really supportive, and they some of my mates are like, we're not going to meet up with you and just talk about the draft. We're going to just not worry about it and have that
Mm.
will be mentality. But within myself, like for the amount of work I've put in over the last few years, and really that dream I've had for my whole life, for it to come down to a
Mm.
couple is nerve wracking. But yeah, I do
Mm.
understand. There's so many ways to get there, and if you put in the hard work, you're going to get there anyway. I believe so. I'm not too nervous about it. I'm still going about things, and
Yeah.
keep excited about it all. So yeah.
For sure. Then obviously having that injury meant you weren't able to do the combine testing and obviously playing the state champ sides. Does it give you a lot of confidence, Sam, that you're getting talked about still and gathering a lot of interest from clubs, despite, in the biggest football year of your life, you've been having to not be a part of those state teams and then even do the testing as well?
Yeah, it's a interesting thing that, like, had I been a couple of years ago, I would have thought, not being able to play a lot of footy in your top age years is just going to be so detrimental. But um, just with how the clubs have approached things with me over the last few months, and a little bit of talk here and there around about me, yeah, it gives me some of that confidence that people do see my attributes and what I can do and what I can bring to a team. And I've
Mm.
got some belief that I'll be able to go into an environment and really thrive within it. But I'm just super glad that there are people out there that have got a little bit of an idea that I can bring something to an AFL club, and that
Mm.
that yeah, it gives me a little bit of confidence, and also means that I was definitely doing a couple things right
Yeah.
season, and I'm so happy the injury came at a time where I was able to actually play a few games of footy and showcase a few of those attributes. Like I've got a good mate of mine that didn't actually get the opportunity to play footy at all this year, and it's just so devastating. I've kind of kept that gratitude about the situation that I'm happy I got to play some footy this year, or else things could be a bit different. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then obviously meeting with clubs at the combine itself, how's it been, Sam, meeting with clubs overall? Because obviously, again, that's another thing that can be nerve wracking, but especially when the first few come in. How were you with meeting with clubs, and did it get easier the longer it went?
Yeah, it's interesting. The clubs go about it all in different ways. Like some clubs are, they like to keep their cards pretty close to the chest, and then some are a little bit more open, bullish, you might say. But
Yeah.
yeah, they go about it different ways. It's really interesting to see how different systems really approach things, and I
Mm.
found that I've been able hold in a bit of those nerves when talking to these clubs, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that kind of hold the power when it
Yeah.
comes. So I've tried to just be myself to them, and tried to be really authentic, and that's kind of all you can do, I feel like. So
Mm.
it's that sense that I feel like just take a deep breath and go, I'm just going to be myself, and then if they like me, if they don't, they don't, I reckon.
That's fair. Now, the recruiting questions, there's particular questions that seem to get mentioned all the time. In the past, I've heard if you're a car, what car would you be? Dead or alive, who would you take out to dinner? Then lately, I've heard board games got a run lately a lot, and there's been some questions where the interviewer has been getting interviewed by the interviewee. So, how's yours been? Have you had any rogue questions you've been asked or roles you've been asked to do?
Oh, there's been a few interesting ones. Yeah, like you just mentioned. Yeah,
Mm.
I had to, at one point become the interviewer with clubs, so that was definitely an interesting one. They would just like pick one person in the room to kind of start a few minute conversation with, and you're just sitting there getting the questions asked to you, but having that
Mm.
flipped is pretty interesting. But I guess that shows who's got the social skills, who can kind of
Mm.
perform pressure. Yeah, a few other ones. A little bit on like what was it? It was if you say in 5 years' time, system for 5 years, and you're looking to buy, how do you go about that? So things that are kind of not really as football related, a few more
Yeah.
outside of football questions, which I think are always interesting.
Mm.
Another one was what was it? Your mates are all at a party, and you're rocking up late, and you walk through the door. What's their reaction when you walk in? So I thought that was pretty interesting. So yeah, definitely a lot of
Mm.
interest. But they're the best ones, I think. They're the ones that,
Yeah.
and they're the ones you kind of remember. So, yeah.
True. That last one you just mentioned there, I've heard someone else mention that as well. So there seemed to be a common trend with some of these. But it's really cool to see some ones that a bit out there and a bit different to what people wouldn't expect. Like you mentioned, you think generally it's going to be footy ones, and not necessarily that's the case. Now, in terms of the club meetings as well, did you get an inkling personally, Sam, who may have been more keen than others to say they might have met more than once, or just the way they were talking about it? Could you even get a read on some of these, or like you mentioned before, they might keep it close to themselves? Did you get any indication either way?
Yeah, I guess so. I think naturally, just reading off the club's sort of body language and the way the way they go about talking to you, like how personal they are with you, how specific they are with your,
Mm.
um, yeah, I kind of got a little bit of an idea of what clubs might be a little bit more, spending a little bit more time looking at me and trying to figure out what kind of person I am than others. Also,
Mm.
naturally, the obvious one is the amount of interviews or whatever throughout the year, but just purely just on a personal sort of level, being able, those sort of conversations you have with certain clubs, it's you can get a little bit of a feel of the ones that kind of like you, and even just facial expressions down to that. It's yeah, you can definitely get a read, I feel like, on which
Mm.
ones are slightly more interested. But then
Mm.
again, like it might be a bit of a strategy for some clubs to try not to show that emotion, and
Yes.
on their toes a little bit. So you just never know. Yeah, to answer your question, for sure.
Now, coaches, some people have mentioned to me they've had some coaches now. I've heard Adam Kingsley's been some, Dean Cox, Ross the Boss, Ross Lyon's been in some. Have you had any coaches in yours, Sam? And if so, did that make that interaction with the whole crew, but in particular with that coach around, make any more daunting, or did you not have anyone in yours?
Yeah, there were a few coaches that come to mind. Yeah, Dean Cox, yeah, and then Andrew McQualter as well
Oh, yeah.
was the main interviewer. So yeah, I sat down with West Coast, and Andrew McQualter was the one that was asking all the questions. So to have a head coach be center is kind of interesting thing, and I think it's important that the head coach kind of has a look at the kids and sees how they go about it, because at the end of the day, they're a huge part of the whole process, as everyone knows. And Dean was running a bit of vision, and took me through a bit of that. Had the big screen up and said, dissect this for me, and that that was a little bit nerve wracking, but I thought I handled it pretty well. So yeah.
That's good. Well, you mentioned with West Coast there. Obviously, if the opportunity, Sam, was to go interstate, would that be something you'd be open to?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a question that comes up a lot, and for
Yeah.
me, the same every time. I've got a passion and a dream that I'm pursuing, and for me, that is playing AFL footy at the end of the day, and I'd go anywhere to do that. I think for me, so I've got no preferences. I've got no. At the end of the day, I want to get my name called out, and I want to make a footy club proud, and wherever that is, we'll attack that for sure.
Sure. And then obviously pick one is obviously talked about a lot these days. Now it's more likely now the closer it's gotten. That's going to be Willem Dersma. Who would you say would be pick one? Would you still stick with Willem? And if regardless of that, who would you pick one if you were the recruiter?
If I was West Coast and I was on the clock, I'd probably. I mean, it's a bit of a basic answer, but I think at this stage it's probably Dersma. I'm a big fan of Dylan Patterson as well. I think he's got but I think the Dersma, the versatility and the the amount of different roles he can play at a really high level is pretty desirable trait. So I'd probably stick with him at one, which is the general point. So
For sure. Now, self-confidence in yourself. Do you have any self-confidence in yourself? Because I've asked a few players this over time. They have a lot of self-confidence in themselves. And now some people can deem this, not I don't, but some people can deem it as arrogance or just confident in your ability to stick with what you know and know that you can be really good at it. Where are you on that? Because it seems to be 50-50 split this.
I've got a lot of self-confidence. Like I know that I know what I can do and what I can bring, and I've got an idea of what I'm capable of. But it's really about providing the results. I think it's like I'm a big let the footy do the talking sort of guy, and I think the most important thing at the end of the day. But in terms of when I'm talking to my mum and dad and maybe a couple of my close mates, they would have got a lot of that. I've got a lot of that fire and a lot of that self-confidence that I really truly believe in myself and what I can become. But when it comes to, from the outside looking in, it's probably a little bit more low key.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, obviously, through these conversations, we unfortunately didn't get to do the testing because of the injury, but did it give you a good chance to sort of mingle with some other players, Sam, that you may not have known too much about or knew absolutely nothing about? They got to connect with through that time.
Yeah. There were heaps of boys from around Australia that I hadn't met before, and I wasn't there for a long time because the injured boys ended up going home on the Saturday. I had some good connections with a few of the boys, especially someone like Harley Barker comes to mind, and he did as well, and we had a really long conversation. That experience has been, and developed a little bit of a connection there, and even a few Metro boys that I actually hadn't met before, like Sullivan wasn't in any of the Metro programs, and had a chat with him here and there, and got to know him a little bit. But yeah, it's a great event, really, in my opinion. Like I was super excited to go there and meet new people. I think that's kind of a big part of it, and it was awesome.
For sure, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when you're going to go into hopefully the position you want to get to, I mean, that's going to happen naturally. So, I mean, it's like a little test run in a way for all that to know what's going to happen and more.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's so many different personalities out there and so many different ways people go. So, getting used to, meeting different personalities is a huge part of it and connecting with them.
Sure. Now, obviously some teammates either that you played with at Oakley or someone that was a part of the Metro squads or someone that you just like watching from afar. Who's some players that you feel like don't get talked about too much, Sam, that you would love to see get drafted?
Good question. There's a lot of boys that are getting put up in lights recently. I mean, one initially, like probably early in the year, a guy that would have come to mind would have been Jack Ison. And he was able to show some really strong form at the end of the year, and I was super happy to see him do that. So he's now starting to get a little bit of that attention that he probably deserves with the work that he's been putting in. Another guy would be probably Louis Emmett. I think at this stage, like he is he's got a lot to offer in my opinion, and he's had a tough year and for injuries as well, being on and off, and but I think whatever club gets him, they'll like what they get. I reckon come first session of pre-season. I think so. Those are probably more Louis Emmett at this stage. He probably hasn't been talked about as much as of recent, but club get him for sure.
Sure, good answers. Now, I love asking some teammate questions, Sam, so these go any which way. Now, this can relate to Oakley, Metro, anyone of any team that you've ever been a part of or squad. So who loves the limelight, the attention, the camera, and they can't get enough of it, and they know what to do when the camera's around?
Probably Jack Austin. He does love a little bit of media. Loves an interview. He's he's got a lot of flair, Jack, and he he does Ellie and loves a little bit of that. So Jack probably comes to mind. Other than that, I think a lot of the Oakley boys are pretty, I mean, everyone loves a little bit of attention, but probably Jack comes to mind the most for me, for sure.
Very, very good. Who would Google themselves and watch back their own highlights?
Sam Grill. He'd be big on that, I reckon. I reckon he spends a lot of time on YouTube, and probably Huddle as well. So yeah, probably Grill.
That's fair. I'm sure he'll be copping a lot of grilled jokes and with his last name, and the spelling and the pronunciation as well. I'm sure he gets a lot of variation pronunciations as well.
Yeah, I've heard just a ridiculous amount of ways people have said it, like grillage, garage, all these ways people say it. But I think it's just grill. I think that's probably the way to do it. So interesting spelling. Sure.
For sure. I'm not 1,000% kind. I'm pretty sure I did butcher him when I did a power rankings video a month or so ago. So I'll put my hand up for making the error there. But now I've started to hear it a lot more and more the last month.
Yeah, it's not an easy one to pronounce, but I think everyone's getting the hang of it nowadays. So
for sure.
I'm night one.
That's it. Won't stuff it up from there. That's for sure. Now, team. This kind of answers to a similar question to before. But some teammates that are flying under the radar for you, would it still be Louis?
I think yeah. I'd say Louis. I think I mean, in all honesty, I wouldn't be surprised if he surprises a few people with his positioning in the draft. But I would, at this current stage, is flying under the radar a little bit, and he's going to be a steal in my opinion. So even a guy like Jack Dalton as well, I think flies on the radar, and they're going to love it. So those two boys come to mind.
Good answers. I had Dalton on previously, and I just you see as how he's performed throughout the year. When he's had the captaincy as well, I think it was one of the game against SA. I think it was for Metro, and then his consistency in that state champs alone was pretty good. I remember the last game he had 28 and 11 tackles. I mean, you hear about the guys that get talked about, and rightfully so. But I don't hear too much about him, which is surprising considering how well his state champs was, and that's the best stage you can perform on, really.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he doesn't do a whole lot wrong, Jack, and he works his ass off. So he hopefully gets what he deserves come draft night. I think everyone would love to see. He's going to have a lot of people in his corner as well, rooting for him. So he's one that's I'd say at this stage is flying under the radar a little bit, but yeah, like I said, happy with him. I reckon.
Sure. Now, obviously, when these days in the AFL and the AFLW, they have these songs they play after a goal, Sam. If you were able to pick a goal song, what goal song would you pick?
Oh, it's a tough question. I love probably like Ruthless by like DJ or something. I'm a big fan of that song.
Okay.
It's
Yep.
tough. Yeah, you go a lot of different ways with that, but that's probably the most like pre-workout.
Yeah.
So, probably Ruthless.
That's fair. That's fair. Game day superstitions, Sam. Do you have any game day superstitions you do?
I always have the same meal pre-game, so I have the same
Yep.
meal. And I've got a bit of a routine in that I've got a daily routine in that I wake up and I get 10 to 15 minutes of sun and just have a footy in my hand, and then I've just order of food that I'm eating coming up to the whatever timing the game is, and then I love to walk around the block with a bit of music, bouncing the footy. That's kind of my routine every time, to be honest.
For sure. I just got a few more left for you, Sam. So I really appreciate you coming on, mate. Now, if you were to name the toughest opponent you've ever had to match up on at any level, who would you say that would be?
Toughest opponent. Probably. I've played a lot of footy against Ollie Greaves over the. He's always been a tough one. Like he's been big body midfielder. He hit the ball pretty fast. You don't want the ball. Yeah, you don't want him hit him with the ball in his hand with 50 meters of the goals because he's a chance. And he's always had a bit of size on me over the years. So I've had to find ways to stop the wrestling and get on my feet and run against him. So he's been one that I've had some battles with for sure.
For sure. What team have you grown up supporting in the AFL? And on top of that, is there any players in the AFL you kind of try to model your game of, or just watch vision of, or watch games of that you're trying to play similar style to?
Yeah, my favourite team is Melbourne Demons. I've been a Melbourne supporter ever since pretty much not far off the day I was born. So, Melbourne through and through for me. But a couple of the players I really love to watch that come to mind would be like Isaac Heaney would be the first one. Being sort of similar-ish height to me and, has great aerial ability, but also is amazing on ground level. And he's also a real threat forward of the ball as a bit of a well. So he's great to watch. He's probably at this stage just right up there for one of my favourite players. So he comes to mind. And then another one would probably be probably more position based, like an Ollie Dennis. I think with him, the way he is and impacts both. Again, aerially and on ground level, and he gets really dangerous forward. So those two probably come to mind, I'd say.
It's very good. Now, you mentioned being a lifelong Melbourne fan. Did you have the good opportunity to meet with Melbourne? And if so, did that meeting feel any different at all compared to the others, knowing in your head, going into that it's your club you've been going for?
Yeah, a little bit. It's weird. It's a bit weird meeting with the club I've been barracking for my whole life, but get the opportunity to meet them at the combine, and it was a good meeting. Good to see the way they go about things, but then again, I'm kind of there for a reason, and that's to impress the club. Kind of going about it in a similar way to the other clubs for sure.
How many clubs in rough figure would you say you met with in total?
I think roughly 15 out of the 18. Yeah.
Very good. Did it get easier? Like we mentioned earlier about the teams you go, the longer it went. Was it just cruisy at the end, considering how the start went?
I'd say from the first time I actually ever met with the club was the Summer Hub. Back in back in 2024.
Oh yeah.
I think early 2025. But yeah, I was a little bit nervous to start. Probably had the heart up going, but come throughout the year, it definitely gets easier. Able to be a little bit less nervous around them as it goes on, but naturally you're still speaking to an AFL club, and I'm really wanting to join join the industry. So nervous around them, but definitely gets easier.
For sure. Now, last one I do appreciate coming on, Sam, is what advice would you give to younger people that are in the position that you're hoping to get to in a week's time? How to go ahead with their football, how committed you want them to be, and what are you hoping also on top of that to get out of your footy career and hopefully an AFL career?
Yeah, some advice I'd have would be patient and really enjoy your footy with your mates. I think it's a great thing and it's an amazing game. And I think really cherishing it for what it is as a junior is probably the way to go, and really having that passion for it, really loving the game, because then that'll feed into the hard work and all the things that you need to be doing. I'm an AFL player. At the end of the day, what you put in is what you get out, and those who hard work beats talent every time. So work hard, work your ass off, but yeah, have that love for the game, that passion, and just appreciate playing with your mates for sure. So and yeah, on for me, for what I want to get out of my career is I want to first of all be the best possible player I can be and work my ass off and get the absolute self, get every inch out of myself. And yeah, I want to be successful. I want to win premierships. That's kind of but I've got that real drive and desire to be part of a successful team. So that's what I want to be part of. So cross we get there.
Sure, Sam. Really appreciate you coming on, mate. Good luck in a 4 days or so time, and hopefully your dream is realised. And it all goes well. Really appreciate you coming on, mate.
Appreciate it, Cooper.
No, thank you.